What's up, guys? We are going to be live here in 11 minutes with the consensus day 2. This is going to be the business track live stream. Should hear some pretty good stuff. So far, we've had some really good stuff coming out. I mean, damn, Ethereum popped out of the gate big time. They've been pretty volatile since the EEA had talked about and signed 86 new people yesterday. Freaking, what was it? Zcash went up almost 200% today after JP Morgan announced that they will be basically working with them because they see a need with anonymous transactions and stuff like that. The banks are catching on, people. The banks are catching on. You think that they're stupid? No, they're smart. You see Ripple. Now you see Zcash. You see how much Zcash is worth. You think that they're gonna just let profit run out the door and creep them by? It's not gonna happen. They're gonna take advantage. So when the live stream starts, I'll probably cut off my camera. Still under the weather here, so. Should be an important day for crypto. Block-based chain insurance. I want to thank all you guys who came out last night as well for the live stream. Appreciate it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic real quick. If you guys want to talk to me, use the chat. And yeah. I'm just gonna turn that down for a little bit until they actually start, because this NASDAQ commercial is insane. They want you to invest in NASDAQ now. These assholes need to hurry up and start the freaking thing. Can't be that much longer. Yo, what's up, Rock On? What's going on, man? Waiting for this the consensus to start. It gave a time, gave a countdown, and then started playing this stupid Nasdaq commercial. It's just, it's just looping the commercial over and over and over again. Pretty freaking annoying. What you got going on? Oh, you got those KTMs. Sweet. I was just checking out your channel. I would love to get a KTM, man. I've always wanted one. They're just so expensive here, States. Okay, it said about 10 minutes before. Still tracking it. Let's go, consensus. Let's go. Yeah, I want one, man. They're so freaking rad. I like them. I like them a lot. I've been wanting one for quite a while, and then when I was in Germany for a while, I wanted to get a BMW because it was cheaper. But then when I found out how much tax I would have to pay on it once I got back to the States, I was like, never mind. I was like, I'll just wait till I get back. All right, here we go. Looks like they're starting something.
Based insurance. I'm Nolan Bowerly. I write the long-form research reports for CoinDesk, and I wrote one that was released this past January and interviewed many of the people on stage here and the businesses they represent. I'm going to start by letting them introduce themselves. So we'll start with Siva from the only, well, we have two startups, but after R3's announcement today, I'm no longer
Let's go.
So,
I'm Siva Kannan, VP of Engineering at GEM. GEM is a blockchain platform startup company, and we have been focusing on the healthcare industry. We essentially provide foundation services on top of the blockchain implementation. We provide foundation services like identity, data, network, so we are agnostic to blockchain.
All right, I'm going dark on the microphone again.
So recently,
Just talk to me in the chat, and I'll chat with you guys there.
And the auto industry.
Mondi from Lumen Labs.
So my name is Shubhajit Mandal. Mondi is an easier nickname. I work at Lumen Lab, MetLife's innovation center. We are based out of Singapore. We look at new business model innovation in the health, wealth, and the aging space. So trying to disrupt the industry by trying to create new revenue channels for MetLife.
My name is Ryan Rugg. I'm Director of Business Development at R3, spearheading the effort for insurers and asset managers. We recently launched the Center of Excellence for Insurers and Reinsurance with Accord, where we have dedicated resources, symposiums, projects just for insurers.
I'm Jax Rao. I work for Swiss Reinsurance Company. For the minority here, maybe reinsurance means we insure the big risks of primary carriers. And in 2015, I joined Swiss Re, and last year I had the mandate to lead the blockchain workstream at Swiss Re with the focus of developing our agenda. And last year we formed insurance industry's first consortium on blockchain, B3I. And my primary responsibility at Swiss Re is to how we can identify the strategic applications of blockchain competency and how it can help expand and transform our business.
Thanks, Jax. So I want to kick off with the members of this panel who really understand their industry, so they're coming at it from an insurance point of view. And I think it'll be useful if they can share with you some of the problems they've seen in the industry. We've got millions of people processing paper and managing claims. And it's really created a type of paperwork crisis within this industry. But these fellows here will all have, I hope, an anecdote where they can describe what they've seen is wrong with the industry until now. And I'll start with you, Jags, at reinsurance.
Well, I would say there's this saying of insurance is sold, not bought. And that's not by accident. Reinsurance industry for a long time have been financially healthy, but operationally less efficient. And if you look at the players involved in the value chain, starting from the insured to the agents that we have on the primary side, and then primary carriers, and then agents for the reinsurance, and then reinsurers, and all the way up to capital markets. It's a lay of counterparties. And there is a bidirectional data flow and money flow involved. And what has happened over the years is that we have only gotten better working on silos. So when it comes to exchange of data, and that's where we still use the good old legacy setup, and that only contributes to the cycle time that is involved. And for us, when we looked at blockchain piece beginning of last year, it was more about what is the business problem that we are trying to solve. And that has given us enormous learning in terms of looking at our own setup and seeing, okay, how this technology can solve some of our biggest problems that is there in the industry for a long time. So it is more than the technology, it's the business process re-engineering that we are talking about in our industry. And hopefully, with the application of this technology, if we can realize the efficiency gains that we are talking about, I think that's really good for the industry, because then you can really transfer the savings back to primary carriers in our case, and then back to the end consumers. And that's why I'm quite excited about the potential of applying this technology.
Ryan, R3 has been integrating insurance companies for almost a year. I think you guys began last summer. Yeah. What have your members described to you? What have they brought to the table as far as their problems that they would like you to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. At the beginning, we hosted a bunch of workshops. We thought it was going to be very different problems from the banks. And quite early on, we realized identity, reference data, same issues that the banks had were a lot of overlap, as well as contract negotiation. If financial services does, or collateral agreements, codifying policies into smart contracts and being able to build out from there. And to the point, we recently built out an ILW demo, which is an industry loss warranty. And it's just basically with different constituents, making sure they have the same codified policy at all the same points and being able to assess the risk at the same time. So knowing when the contract's live or when it's been terminated, and being able to assess your risk from that standpoint. So a lot of reusable content in the industry I've noticed, as well as taking these contracts and codifying them and creating a smart contract library of these policies.
So thank you. Mondi, you're part of a laboratory within a large insurance company. So there must be that kind of, let's call it a problem, where are you bringing solutions to problems, or are they telling you what problems they want solved?
So it's more the latter. So we did a program called Collab that just ended successfully a week ago, where we collated 16 problem statements from all the CEOs, CTOs of each country in the whole of Asia, published them, got about 150 startups to apply from all over the world, then took them through a 3-month virtual program where we helped them shape the pitch that they are going to make. Out of the 150, only 8 got selected to be in the final round, but those 8, we worked with them for 3 months. Because they don't know which country, which CEO, which CTO, which department to go and sell their product. So we work very closely with them, with those startups, so that they could make the final pitch. And out of the 8, 3 startups got about $100,000 of worth of commercial arrangement with us. One in speech recognition and one in machine learning to do customer servicing. Those are very high-level ones. You can just go on Collab and check that. But to your question, it's more the latter, where Lumen Lab is being the center where we understand the startups world very well, and we also understand our internal problems. We go to the internal departments, countries, get the problems, and do the matchmaking. And
from that point of view of a large company working with startups, as the only startup on the panel here, no offense, have you seen that receptiveness? Are you bringing solutions to problems? Are insurance companies asking you to solve their problems?
Absolutely. One of the things which I can share is on the healthcare side first, then I'll talk on the auto side later. On the healthcare side, one of the things which we look at is for any use cases, which you want to work on, blockchain is really great for use cases which is time consuming, which is complicated, which are a lot of hands involved. One of the biggest examples for that is claims reconciliation, for example. Claims reconciliation process was done for Capital One, and this was essentially following through the claim process only from the provider to the payer. All the claims processing in terms of diagnosis codes, procedure codes, getting all that codified on the blockchain so that it's automated. And then the claim, when it gets submitted from the provider to the payer, so the breakdown of the cost involved from the payer side and how much of the patient's contribution gets involved, all that codified through smart contracts and all that getting automated. So the reason why this is so important is people don't realize this, but for a single healthcare claim, it could actually touch about 300 people, 300 physical people. So that's humongous. And you all know that the healthcare industry spending is about $3.2 trillion. And it's the data breaches associated in the healthcare industry amounts to like $6.2 billion. So anything associated with making sure that the identities are registered properly and the data is securely managed through a blockchain is a great use case.
So on that, Siva, you're talking about managing relationships between the different partners within the insurance industry, and that's what CoinDesk, that's what our research showed, that insurance really was not a product that was being sold, but a series of relationships between professional players. And that's what we've seen in testing. We've seen a lot of these relationships between different parties that deliver this promise to pay, which is the insurance contract. And I think R3 has been looking at that, how to arrange these relationships between partners. A lot of testing has gone on in the past year. Insurance was a little later than trade finance and some of the other capital market applications, but we've got a year's worth of results in.
Absolutely. We have over 100 different proof of concepts we've done, and early on in R3 within the consortium, all IP was shared by all members. We realize later, as we're moving closer to production, to your point, bringing the constituents together is very important, but we also put project agreements around these projects. So if 5 insurers are participating in a project, they can own the IP and have the right to commercialize on that. And that was important to create that environment where people felt comfortable sharing their IP as well as their problem points, because we do invite regulators into our consortium free of charge. And another thing that we found out early on was they shouldn't have access to all the projects until they're invited in by a member, because a member necessarily want to hang out their dirty laundry, what their weak points are, until they're at the point where they're moving to production. But we do think it's critical.
Thank you for the likes, man.
Before you go into production, become a product.
That was really important what she was saying. They have hundreds of proof of concepts.
A lot of experimentation.
Proof of concept is basically somebody that can write a white paper.
I guess from the 1980s and the crash,
you need more than proof of concept. I need
losing track of
something tangible.
People owing themselves money and insuring themselves. Not from the consortium point of view, but really from Swiss Re's point of view, what kind of testing have you guys seen? What's been working with the reinsurance markets?
Again, we looked at, our starting point is to really see what is the problem that we are trying to solve. So if you look at the premium that we are charging to the client, nearly 5 to 10% of that is derived from the expense ratio, the reinsurance expense ratio. And our approach is, if we can bring that down significantly, let's say 15 to 25%, and then we can pass on that benefit back to our cedents and then to end customers. But then, we wanted to have a right playground to start with. And we looked at our own processes within Swiss Re. So we realized legal entities within Swiss Re, they cede risk with one another. And there, a quarterly process takes about 10 weeks to settle. So we realized this is exactly the problem that we are trying to solve. And then apply this technology. So it is the intra-group retrocession process that we undertook, did the business process analysis, and then applied blockchain so that the insurance contracts are applied there. And then you see that the results are generated, validated by counterparties, and notarized on the mutual distributed ledger.
And so what you're saying is 10 weeks for already super sophisticated buyers and sellers.
And this is within your own network.
Yeah.
And now you can easily replicate this process to the business transactions that we have with our cedents. And then more parties benefit from it. And now I go back to that analogy of the multiple layers of counterparties that we have. And within the same pipe, we can build this network and enable transaction flow across multiple layers of counterparties. And then I think the true potential of blockchain can be realized. And for us, it is to really get the hands-on experience and use that base for subsequent progressing. And in fact, I'm really glad that this has contributed to the formation of industry's first consortium on blockchain. And the foundation meeting took place in October last year at Swiss Re. And now we are 15 members, global players from the reinsurance world. We have lots of membership requests. But maybe where we disagree in our approach compared to R3 is we are really focused on what we want to do. We don't have a huge array of portfolio of cases that we would like to work on. We would like to remain focused, small enough to produce some tangible results, but also in time big enough to create the impact.
And serve those sophisticated buyers and sellers.
See, at the end of the day, it is about adoption. How can you drive standards, protocols, processes that is required within the industry?
So I would say the difference between what you're doing is to look at those sophisticated buyers and sellers, but we do have people who are interested in serving just your general insurance consumer who is also lost in the same tangle that sophisticated buyers can't navigate. So, Jem, what has your experience been trying to serve these people who just want their promise to pay to be paid?
Yeah, on the consumer side, you're specifically asking on the consumer side.
Yes, consumer side.
So one of the things which we looked at, like as we all know, like blockchain has promises on two sides of the equation. One is on the operational efficiencies. The operational efficiencies piece was the claims reconciliation piece, which we worked on in the healthcare industry. Whereas the other one, which blockchain also has promised, is with newer business models, with newer innovative approaches of solving problems. And that's where we are exploring a project with AOE Nisei Dowa, a Japanese customer. This is on a usage-based insurance model. So essentially, a customer, as you drive a car, he pays the insurance as he drives instead of paying a yearly premium.
Getting away from the annuity.
Yeah, getting away from the annuity. Making sure, so this model essentially drives good driving behavior as well. There is a lot of telematics data which gets sent from the car, from the driver. So if he drives really well, without rapid accelerations, without harsh brakes, then the insurance pay which he does for the trip is actually lower. So it drives good behavior, it makes sure that the consumer is happy, and the entire process is streamlined instead of a yearly premium.
Which is why Jem, I guess, is working with IoT people as well, because what we have seen and what our research showed was those And I guess James Comey, the FBI, released a public service announcement about the insurance telematics dongles being the way, the avenue into car hacking for the windshield wipers and the transmission killing. And
Yeah, there are multiple ways through which the data can be sucked in. One is through the dongles. There are also manufacturers getting to the DCM data. One other approach which you're also looking at is through the mobile device itself for the insurance premium part, because that provides the necessary data, driving data, and also related to accelerations and arch brakes.
And I guess at that, you're not so much interested in gathering too much personal data on the driver. It's more about what the weather was like while you're insuring for that particular drive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the PII information is all anonymized. So there is no way of tying into a specific customer, for example. It's more about providing the necessary value with the right amount of data which you need to provide that value.
So the high frequency state change, which will be required to ensure the sharing economy.
Yeah.
So Mondi, inside of something like Lumen Labs, how much focus do you have on the different relationships that you're trying to coordinate, or is it really just to influence what MetLife is doing?
Oh, no. In the blockchain use case, we are building stuff outside, trying to see if we can explore something where we create something ground up. And that would mean collaborating with the ecosystem. So we do work with Swiss Re, trying to understand stuff that we don't have expertise in. So we do that. To tell you a little more in details.
These guys are basically trying to talk about how to bring insurance into the blockchain.
Okay? No project goes
Excuse me.
through unless we have
And how that could work and stuff like that. But they're talking a lot about proof of concept. And that's a little scary when you're talking about insurance and money and assets. I mean, you want to be able to have insurance, but like I said, it has to be more than a proof of concept, in my opinion.
Is that of transparency that you mentioned a bit, especially on the claim side. And one of the very good examples I would like to bring up that has already built, not by us, by some other guys, it's called EtherRisk. You can actually buy flight insurance on your web browser. The backend is completely built by Ethereum. The company is run by just 2 people, okay? And that's how they took the power of Ethereum. And the transparency bit is, if you go to buy flight insurance on their mock platform, they will tell you exactly how much the probability of your flight delay is. When I bought one mock one, and I remember this, I was flying back from Hong Kong to Singapore. I was going to pay 5 ethers, but I will only get back 3.5 because my flight had a 100% probability of delay. I did not know that till I went there, right? And that happened. My flight was 45 minutes delayed. And that's the kind of level of transparency that these guys are bringing in because they're technology first, they know it has to be transparent, it has an immediate impact on customers. So one of the things we are looking at is, can we do the same for health and life insurance? And that's an exploration we are on currently.
And I suppose that's interesting because in all these relationships that go into delivering an insurance product, the underwriters really want something simple. They just want to know what the risk is. They want a simple data point. And this is a new way to deliver that simple data point to an underwriter.
Underwriters don't want just simple. The values that drives insurance companies is not simple underwriting. It's actually more complicated. And the more complicated it becomes, there is more value to the business. And that is, I think, that has taken insurance a bit back. So it's our job to go and push the boundaries or actually making it simplified. And I remember during the FinTech Festival last year, and this is, I'm quoting Zhong'an if I remember correctly, they had got some telematics data in China, and they showed how that data can be used in underwriting. It took the CEO 1 year to implement that data in the business because underwriters are not used to new kinds of data. But we are pushing the boundaries, labs like us, Zhong'an, et cetera.
And pushing actuarial sciences.
Yes.
Yeah. So this past year, we have seen a few consortiums pop up around these issues, and it's that same model of trust among competitors. What do you provide to these competitors that allows them to operate in this environment?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, IP agreements are put around every project, so people do feel comfortable sharing. You mentioned the automobile project. We're doing one as well, and I think that what's going to happen is you're going to have the applications that evolve off. Once you have the DLT, the blockchain, once the organization of data is there, you have the microinsurance and include telematics and Internet of Things and like various things like that. Also, at the closure of every document, there's a project closure document that is distributed to all the members so people can learn from one another. Like, why try to recreate the wheel? You know, if already the similar projects have been done, let's learn from it and like, let's advance. You know, the projects are sprints, they're 8 to 12 weeks. What was a success? What was a failure? Why is it not in production? What would it take? Let's learn from one another instead of rerunning the same exact project over again. Also, you know, we're hosting our first insurance symposium tomorrow. We have smart contract symposiums. We're working with what I call unicorns, lawyers that can actually code, which is pretty unique to taking taking insurance policies and codifying them into smart contracts, you know, creating a library for our members to learn from. As well as, you know, SMEs and the Corda team. You know, the Corda team to, you know, feed your requirements back about what you guys are building and what you need for the insurance industry back to the platform.
And is this helpful to sort of run in parallel with the core data standards and existing industrial standards?
Absolutely, that's a really good point. So, you know, in order for this technology to work, it is a true peer-to-peer paradigm. You need some sort of standard language. And, you know, I've heard that, you know, certain Accord standards don't fit the projects, but they're willing to work with us and learn from the projects and adapt their standards to these projects. So having that common language across the industry is going to help accelerate implementation.
And you're a specialized industry. Is it the same approach?
Yeah, we more come from the business side, the insurance business perspective. What is relevant to us, and you know, what is the first starting point? And the minimum viable product that P3I is developing on, it's a very focused natural catastrophe property reinsurance contract. So it will really test the interface between insurers and reinsurers. So there's a lot of business process going into it. It is not just one piece that we are trying to fit in, looking at the business process as a whole and see, you know, where it makes sense. And I think this approach has merits in the sense that once, you know, you establish that confidence, the industry-grade prototype, then you can open it up for others who are interested to be members of P3I or even, you know, at Artrek. So the idea is, how can you be at the forefront of driving standards, like you mentioned? We are, for example, you know, using a code as a data standard, so that if you can remain at the forefront of driving standards, then it becomes easier for adoption. It takes time, but you know, you have to, you know, start somewhere.
And you said that the catastrophe bonds, is that related to the sort of the soft market we're seeing in insurance right now with the large pool of money available to underwrite extremely dangerous products?
Eventually, yes. But I think right now the focus is we need to establish the first industry-grade minimum viable product. And I think that is the confidence level that we want to get to. And let's not forget, you know, while the consortium is working on that, we at Swiss Re, we are working on different use cases, which are more on the differentiating side, be it ILS or microinsurance. We were here at the weekend for the hackathon. We brought our microinsurance use case so that we can see tangible results and then use that as a base for the next steps. So constantly we ask, whenever there is a use case, why blockchain? Are you really using blockchain as a primary store of information? Most often not. Then why use blockchain if you're just using it as a database? So I think there's a lot of thinking going upriver to make sure that, you know, we only undertake those cases which merits investment. And this is especially true because in organizations like ours, there is always hesitance in going for a big bang investment when the technology is still maturing.
So
I think
That's why I think
demonstrate
insurance
tangible
should not be
results,
introduced
it becomes a lot easier.
and
anytime
you talked a bit
soon.
about the microinsurance angle, and Jem working in IoT, is
too risky.
there that crossover between the microinsurance opportunity and the IoT? Is that something you guys are looking at?
There is definitely an opportunity. One comment which I also wanted to do on the consortiums and alliances, for example.
It's going to put in
there's
too
a-
many
there's a lot of
regulations.
alliances which are
Everything's going to have to be assessed and analyzed. It's going to bring in
big ones are
a whole
the hyperledger.
mess, man. It's gonna be
Recent
it's gonna bring in a whole
So
mess.
when you asked about the competition and how
And then essentially what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be setting up
one of the things
a
which we do
division
flex
which
is this
regulates
foundations that started
who can come in and what they can do. And then eventually this whole decentralized thing becomes very centralized in the fact that
and we are one of the steering committee members.
there's
of that
there's a
foundation.
governing body
So
that
all the whenever
that
we meet as a foundation,
approves or disapproves who
nothing
can
we
and
talk about
can't run on the
specific
network.
So we all remove our company at, and there we are essentially focusing on the technology aspects. So we break down into specific working groups. There are namings and identifiers. There are attestations. There are hubs and agents which we talk about. These are all related to identities, but essentially focusing on the technology advancement and the business use cases and not on the specific companies is a key thing for these foundations to succeed or the alliances to succeed. And with respect to your question on the IoT and micropayment, IoT is going to be a huge player in this. And the key thing for the IoT to succeed is also the identity aspect of it. Identity is getting registered on the blockchain and making sure that it's secure.
So the know your machine aspect and actually integrating machines into these relationships and the bond of
Absolutely.
trust and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think the fascinating piece of this, ecosystem development is that you have to collaborate to get the real value out of it. Innovators, industry players, even if they are competitors, we are working closely together with Munich Re, and we deeply appreciate the value that we are generating together. Even the microinsurance use case, we are working together with a small consortium. And we are really excited about the fact that perhaps by the application of this technology, millions and millions of farmers in Africa and elsewhere who are underprivileged, the insurance can become much more accessible and affordable. And today that is not the case. And I think we have an opportunity to make it happen.
So
And
mutualizing even across borders is what you're sort of suggesting.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I think collaboration is key. But having said that, unless there is concrete results, tough.
And it's not just Africa, I don't think. You can't buy hurricane insurance in Florida anymore. And they have no one who is willing to take the risk with them.
Exactly. And this is where I think if we can, in our terms, we call it the expense ratio. If you can bring down the expense ratio, the parametric products then become even more attractive. And that's where the real value can come from.
Maybe Hong Kong can mutualize with Florida, and
Right.
hopefully they both have good seasons and no hurricanes.
So we at Swiss Re, we are very keen on, other than the B3 IPs, working together with clients. We work closely together with MetLab. Happy to be part of the project. There are other clients that we are in dialogue with for a bilateral co-innovation pilot, because we need that learning. And jointly, if we can establish those insights, we can apply that to the next phase, because we have to move out of the lab. That's clear. We have to get into a stage where we address system integration issues, scalability issues. And if we can do that together as an industry, right, that's the next growth.
And that's a great point, and I would like you all to add a small piece of insight on that. What needs to happen for this to take that step? What needs to happen for this stuff to start being deployed at the consumer level and to be out in the marketplace?
I would say the biggest thing is to start with the minimum set of players needed to execute a use case. One of the things which we end up doing is we try to bring in the biggest portion of executing this is not on the technology side. We always talk on the technology. I totally understand Jack's point on the scalability, performance, reliability aspects, and those are all key questions which needs to be answered. But those questions are getting answered, as a matter of fact, with various technology advancements. But the thing which is problematic is to get the right players in the network, to get them working on a specific project so that it can move from a use case level to a pilot level. So getting the, starting with a set of players and then rolling it out for a set of customers and then expanding out is the key. Instead of trying to get 50 players together and getting something executed.
I'll answer that a bit differently. So all his points on execution are absolutely correct. We have been having a pain of trying to execute something for the past 1 year. People are always interested, but standing on the fence. So all his points are correct in terms of execution, etc. There is a technical bit within the distributed ledger technology cryptography, which I think will shake the insurance industry. We haven't figured it out. It's the zero knowledge proof. We were just talking about a friend of mine just outside. Insurance policies are basically contracts that say pay out if XYZ happens. Insurance companies need to get access to XYZ to do that thing, but XYZ are generally for life and health insurance are personal sensitive information. If instead of the insurance company having to process that data, if the insurance company could send a smart contract to the hospital or the customer's mobile device or somewhere, get it processed and get the outcome returned to it, where they know that that code wasn't hacked into, and that's what zero knowledge proof is, or the code could self-sign itself in some form, that will disrupt everything, because that will force us to start from scratch. Because insurance companies then will be able to insure people without knowing anything about the customer. That, I think there are a lot of cryptographers working on it, but that will change the industry drastically.
So what you're saying is you've got an industry that, unlike capital markets, which was all about hiding market advantage and competitive advantage, insurance was all about disclosing accurate data, everyone measuring their risk, and now that's going to change.
Yes, because if I try to buy life insurance today in Singapore, I have to go through a 30-question document. Now, forget paper, it's digital, but what does digital mean? Instead of ticking yes, I'm clicking a checkbox saying yes. Any of the question checking no. If any of the question is yes, for example, the question is, have you been hospitalized in the past 5 years? Yes, boom, the whole system breaks. I have to go to the hospital on my own, ask for my own health records, pay for it, take it back to the insurance company, and then they can start underwriting me. That's just a Singapore quirks.
Actually, that reminds me of the use case that we have worked on recently, blockchain for sensitive data. Because as insurers, reinsurers, we have the burden of this compartmentalizing users' data. It costs millions. Now, how can we use blockchain so that the control goes back to the owners of the data? So they decide who they give the information out to and what level of information they give out. And I think this is probably the progression that we need in the industry. And there also, again, it's not possible if a couple of players in the ecosystem come together and do a proof of concept. We have a proof of concept now, but we need to extend that, bring the ecosystem players together so that the real value can be leveraged.
In the interest of time, let me add something to that. People are using blockchain currently doing that by being more of a middleman. So if you look at the other fintech industry, for example.
Just want to give a quick shout out to Rock On. Go check him out. His channel is freaking amazing.
So
he has some really cool motorcycle videos, and
there can be aggregator
looks like he's a big
aggregator
supporter of
company is
KTM, which I love.
Solving that problem,
If you guys get a chance, I think he's about to get off here in a brief minute, but thanks for coming by, man, and definitely come by the streams, check him out, check out the videos, and get yourself up on that podium, man. I'll be glad to feature you and get your channel out there, but go join me on STEEM it, and so we can start helping supporting you as well.
Well, I'm glad you brought up hypotheticals and disruption using cryptography, because I'm going to challenge you guys with the last 5 minutes here. We've seen some incredible token sales happen over the past few months on prediction markets. So we're seeing cryptography deployed in a way that is effectively creating an insurance product. So the contracts themselves in the prediction markets are an insurance product. And of course, that completely circumvents all the relationships that you guys are trying to strengthen through blockchain technology. Now, I'm not saying you have an answer to this, but is this something that comes up? I mean, is this on the radar of big insurance companies? Is this, your answer could be no, but at R3, is this something that is, I understand we're trying to replicate the existing workflow and the existing relationships that exist in the insurance industry, but this is something totally different.
Yeah, for the most part, from our members, they have not been focused on like the ICOs and the cryptos. They're trying to solve current use cases with their peers. So, you talked a lot about collaboration, and that's one thing I think is unique in insurance versus banking. They naturally share information. If you think of group life insurance, how you share identity and reference data with other carriers, that's a natural place for this technology to be implemented. As far as like ICOs and cryptos, I mean, I think for their personal accounts they do it, but it's not the projects that they're focused on right now, because to your point, they want to get like a minimal viable product in production in the fastest way, and they think, as far as getting like cryptos involved, it's going to be a bigger hurdle internal to overcome.
But that idea that there is this insurance product that you can buy in a marketplace, I think at some point at Swiss Re anyway, they'll have to have the conversation.
Yeah, see, other than the efficiency gain space, we are also closely looking at the disruptive space. And our assessment is that it's a matter of time. This technology can enable and be a platform.
It's the truth, man.
to
That's the
together,
truth.
protect
What's up, Daniel
consumers
Ross,
and
man?
business.
He said car insurance here in the
That's
UK is
true,
robbery.
because that's true
I've been wondering when
disintermediation.
blockchain
And the payments are
would come to
guaranteed
the
to
rescue.
right.
I don't know, man.
It's not in the
It would be nice
couple
to
of
see
years horizon, but I think it's important
what they
to
can
be
do
prepared for that eventuality,
to
because
to
that's
infiltrate
where
that kind
we
of
as a
market. It'd
risk
be
knowledge company,
really insane
we
to
can
see how they
bring
do
our
it.
expertise
Insurance
and
is
risk
basically
diversification
highway robbery.
to make that platform work. Because
It's just based on
very
probability.
clear.
I mean,
to make it work, you also need
You never really know
database,
what's going to happen when it
development.
happens, but
And
the
if
amount
that
people
happens,
pay
then we are
is
looking at
insane.
acceleration
They
of,
definitely do
digital
need to
digital
figure something
transformation
out.
enabled by blockchain.
And Luminlab, we've already heard you're doing quite a bit of stuff on this, but not necessarily in the prediction markets, but is it something that you're looking at?
Predictions market from life and health, no.
No.
It's not a concern. Also, if you just look at Augur, the examples on Augur are around events that the information is readily available, or so-called the oracles are like a Google News weather or something. When it comes to personal life and health, you won't be able to take that bet because somebody else will not have information about whether you went to hospital a couple of days ago. Hence, in a short answer, the answer is no. From a health and life, we're not looking at it.
But at GEM, you guys are looking at the opportunity for oracles to enter this particular market, and oracles being an opportunity in and of themselves.
Yeah, we haven't explored it a lot. We have definitely are looking at the opportunities. What I would add to this is, like as Jax mentioned, this is a great thing for buyers and sellers to come together, like for any ICO. But the biggest thing to note is we need to really pick the ICO which adds functional value behind it, because there are also ICOs which without any functional value behind it. So that's one other side of the equation as well. The insurance market is something which we have been exploring, so maybe in the future we'll definitely pay attention more on to the ICOs as well. But my take is right now we are cautiously optimistic. I would say.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our session, people. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your attention, and thank our wonderful panelists here for their insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was interesting. That was interesting indeed. How insurance can be implemented into the blockchain. Obviously, they would be using something along the lines of Ethereum or even Tezos, which uses, I think Tezos uses the OCaml coding system to write their blockchain, which is going to be very interesting when they drop. Matter of fact, Tezos is actually trying to replicate what Ethereum does, but do it better. They will be launching, when they launch sometime in June, which they pushed back. It was supposed to start May 22nd, but they pushed it back. Tezos will be offering 2,000 tokens for 1 Bitcoin. And you can obviously use Bitcoin or Ether to pay. That was very fine and dandy back when Bitcoin was still like $1,500. But as it started climbing and climbing, I mean, like, look at this. It's $2,200, man. Now it's kind of like, is it even worth it now? But yeah, I can definitely see insurances working on blockchains like that. It's all sketchy to me, though. It's so sketchy. I kind of feel like insurance, creating these micro insurance on the smart contracts is just odd. It's just odd, man. I think it's going to introduce more problems, like I said, and more regulation, which would get government involved, whether you're in the United States, wherever you're at, because you're going to be dealing with private information, and I know here in the United States, private information is a huge thing. HIPAA is huge. You can't just take somebody or trade somebody's information with a different medical institution, between medical institutions, you still need a patient agreement to do that. So I don't know how they would even do something like this on the blockchain. It's like I said, they even said themselves that they have hundreds of proof of concepts and projects that they continue to write and continue to try to upgrade and make better, so they can actually come up with a plan that is something that's solid that they can actually work towards to make into a reality. Like I said, proof of concept is fine. We can write proof of concepts all day, which is kind of why I stay away from ICOs that are just proof of concept, because literally they don't know if it can work, and you don't know if they can work. You don't know if they don't know it can work, and you don't know if it can work. You also don't know if they have the resources to make it work. It's proof of concept is great. Like I said, it's just learning how I can learn how to write a white paper, but I may not know a single clue about actually implementing what I'm writing. So I can have the idea. It takes a whole nother level of dedication to make it come into fruition. And insurance has a long way to go. And it's going to have an uphill battle because you're dealing with private information. And I just don't see it. And it has to be cheaper. It has to be cheaper. Not only does it have to be more convenient, it has to be cheaper. That's what I think. But it can be done. It can be done. I just don't think we're there right now. And I think, like I said, introducing something like that into the blockchain is going to bring down a whole nother level of regulation within that space, that blockchain space. So whether it's Ethereum, the network, or Tezos, or whoever, it's going to bring more regulation to be had on that network when dealing with personal information of others. I just don't think it's a good idea. But if they can do it in a way where it's convenient, cheap, and it doesn't, affect my livelihood or my credit, my identity, then I'm good with it. So anyway, it's over, guys. I kind of wanted to just recap on what they were saying. It's almost been an hour. It's actually kind of a long show. I believe they have another one coming up soon, talking about technology and policy track. And I don't know if I'm going to stream that one, but depends. Just depends. But thank you guys for coming. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already for more great content. Follow me on Steam It if you'd like to see it go down. Blog posts, videos, it's all there. It's a great place to be, wonderful community, and you get paid for your creations. So there's really no reason why you shouldn't go there, right? Thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. I am out. Thank you for coming, everybody.